You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play.
Welcome to the Hot Options Report, your premier source for insight into the fast-moving options market. Each day, we'll track down the products that are dominating the options chains and impacting your trading account. From Apple to VIX and everything in between, if it's lighting up the options tape, then you'll find it on the Hot Options Report. And now, get ready to scan the tape for the most explosive options activity on the street. It's time for the Hot Options Report.
All right, everybody, that music means it is time once again for Thor, aka the Hot Options Report, for Monday, August 18th. Hope your trading week is off to a great start. Now, if you're listening to this show, chances are that you're pretty serious about options trading. So let me put something on your radar. Public. It's the most cost-effective way to trade options. That's because Public is the only platform that gives you rebates on your options trades. They also have some of the industry's lowest index options fees, whether you're placing single leg or complex multi-leg trades. Every dollar counts. Check out public.com/optionsbrief and discover the most cost-effective way to trade options. Again, the Hot Options Report brought to you by Public. Full disclosures in the podcast description. All right, let's get down to business with a little bit of the old Hot Options Report. What was lighting it up out there in vol land to kick things off? Yes, our old pal, the VIX. Was it a hot and active, a spicy day in VIX options? The answer was yes, nearly 1 million contracts. 917 on the tape to be precise. That's pretty active. That's almost exactly 200,000 contracts above its ADV of 719. So a very active day out there in VIX options. Really, not a lot else going on in the broad market. Kind of interesting to see such a dense day. I mean, we are heading into VIX options expiration in the middle of this week. Obviously, VIX, a different cycle than your traditional equity options. So that could be playing a part in it, but we usually see that paper coming in on Tuesday, not Monday. So interesting stuff out there. What was the hot option on a surprisingly active day in VIX? It was the August 15 half puts going up 43, nearly 44,000 times, right around 35 cents. In fact, we took a fun little flash poll of our audience. We said, hey, at that price, 35 cents, would you rather be a buyer or a seller? Remember, expiration coming up middle of this week for these puts. Only one more trading day, really, for these things to get into gear. And our audience, 58.3% want to sell it right now. 41.7% want to buy those puts. So interesting stuff. What would you rather do, listeners? Let's keep on rolling out to SPY. Was it a hot day out there in SPY? I mean, you'd be forgiven for thinking, well, you know, a decently active day in the VIX should follow suit in SPY. And yet the answer was no. A little bit shy of 6 million contracts going up in SPY today. 5.92 million to be precise. The ADV 7.94, so a little over 2 million contracts shy of the ADV. That's not exactly a hot day out there. But what was the hot option on a surprisingly light day out there in SPY? It was 634,000 of the 644 calls expiring today. Of course, SPY going out a little bit shy of that strike, 643.30. So unfortunately, if you paid anything for these, including, looks like the average price was right around 32 cents. If you paid 32 cents for these and you held them into the close, unfortunately, no winner chicken dinner for you. SPY again going out right around 643 and a third. Let's keep on rolling out to the SPX. Was it a hot day out there in the SPX? And the answer was not quite there either. 2.95 million contracts on the tape. That's against an ADV of 3.8 million. So well shy of their ADV there as well. What was the hot option on a decently quiet day out there in the SPX? It was the 64 half call, 6450 calls going up. Get this. 188,888 times. Say that 5 times fast. Unfortunately, no winner chicken dinner for those. We went out shy of the 64.49 strike, 64.49.15 to be precise. Let's keep on rolling out to small caps. Small caps have kind of been the surprise here on the hot options report lately. The little engine that could out there in small caps land, putting up 1.5, 2, almost 2.5 million contracts some days last week. Not quite hitting those levels today. In fact, the ADV has been ticking up to nearly 1.5 million contracts on the backs of so much volume lately. After today's number might be coming back the other way. Only 827 on the tape in IWM today. Again, that's against an already inflated ADV of nearly 1.5 million contracts. What was the hot option out there in small caps this week? It was the 228 calls going up 84, almost 85,000 times. These going the way of the dodo today. And of course, as expected, IWM going out pretty much right exactly at that strike. A couple of cents shy of it, listeners. So interesting stuff. Looks like they went up for an average price, by the way, for about 35 cents. So bit of a tough road there on the 228s. A lot of pinning going on these days in this new 0-day environment. To the Qs we go, listeners. Was it a hot day in the NASDAQ? I think you can probably guess by now. Outside of the VIX, which was surprisingly active today, not a heck of a lot going up in the major indices. 3.37 million contracts going up in the Qs today. That's against an ADV of about 4 million contracts. So obviously pretty light out there as well. The hot option out there in the Qs today, it was almost 300,000, 297,000 of the 576 puts. Another one going the way of the dodo today. The Q's going out 577.09. So unfortunately, no winner chicken dinner for those bad boys, trading with an average price of right around 67 cents. All right, let's keep rolling out to the single name equities. These have also been kind of the surprise of the show lately. In fact, on the Friday show, it cost you nearly 1 million contracts to break into the top 10. That's just an explosive day. It was 927,000 contracts. Got you to Amazon on the show on Friday. Are we that hot today? Is it even possible to threaten that number again when we're heading into the dog days of summer and not a ton of explosive earnings on the docket? The answer today would be a resounding no. Coming in less than half of that volume, 454,000 contracts, is what it cost you to break into the top 10 today. I guess that's to our new friend, the Wolf. No, not Wolf Speed, WOLF, which is also a fun one, but WULF, a.k.a. Terra Wolf, a.k.a. one of the newest additions to our hot options report, a.k.a. the name that Google bought a chunk of last week and set the stock into the stratosphere. Closing today, $9.38 out there in the Wolf. The hot option, it was 30,000 of the 10 calls expiring this Friday. Can we get to the 10 handle by the end of the week, listeners? Got to stay tuned to the hot options report to find out. We did get there today, though. Got up to 1071 intraday. So those calls were looking pretty good. They have an average price of 62 cents. Obviously, you need to get to 1062 to pay those off by the end of the week, listeners. To number 9 we go now, listeners. It's the artist formerly known as Facebook. Yep, it's Meta, putting up 469,000 contracts today for the number 9 spot. The hot option in Meta, only 17,000 to take the hot option spot in Meta today. That's actually a pretty light day in Meta. What does that get you? That gets you the 760 puts, again, expiring this Friday, going up 17,600 times. Interesting that a puts dominating the tape kind of tells you which way Meta was moving today, to the downside, closing 767 and a third, selling off about 2.25%, nearly 18 handles. Number 8, listeners, we're going on to the chips. It's our old pal AMD, 487,000 contracts on the tape. The hot option in AMD today, it was the 180 calls expiring this Friday, going up 54,000 times. They had an average price of $214, so AMD's going to have to go on a bit of a tear by the end of the week to make those pay off. The stock closing a little bit north of 176 today, 176.14. Number 7, this is another one that's had some interesting news of late. With the Wolf, it was, of course, Google taking a piece. With United Health, it's Warren Buffett taking a piece, and that's been just lighting the stock on fire over the past week as a result. UNH coming in at number 7, today. 545,000 contracts on the tape there. The hot option, I think you can guess, is probably a call, probably expiring on Friday, and that is the case. It's 41, almost 42,000 of the 320 calls. Now, those, unfortunately, have a little ways to go. UNH closing right around 308.5 today, popping $4.50 or nearly 2%, about 1.5%, but not quite kissing the 320 strike. That said, they did get within spitting distance of it earlier today, got up to 316.40. So hopefully the lion's share of these traded when the stock was up around that level. They had an average price of nearly $4.10. So this stock needs to go on a run by the end of the week for these UNH calls to pay off, but got a little bit of time to do it. Stay tuned to the hot options report to see how all these trades play out as we keep on rolling to number 3, our old pal, the fruit company. Yes, it's Apple. 571,000 contracts on the tape today. The hot option in Apple today, 35,500 of the 235 calls. Got up to about 233.12 today, but closed 230.89 out there in Apple. So bit of a ways to run for those 235s to pay off. Average price of about $1.52 for those. So they need to get it in gear by the end of the week. Number 5, it's another frequent offender. It's Palantir, 703,000 contracts. By the way, we're all the way up at number 5. Still only 703,000 contracts. That's below our number 10 entry just on Friday. So give you a bit of a point of comparison, just how active things were last week. Palantir, number 5, 703,000 contracts on the tape. The hot option in Palantir today, again, bit of an indication. Usually we see folks swinging for the fences on the near-dated calls. This week in Meta, and now in Palantir, it's puts lighting up the tape. 55,300 of the 170 puts. Palantir going out right around 174 today. So interesting that the puts are dominating the tape. Average price of 255. So needs to move a little bit. But then again, we've seen Palantir move $4 and change in a few minutes. So it'll be interesting to see what Palantir can do throughout the rest of the week. Number 4. Yes, I said number 4. It's Tesla, all the way down to number 4. What's going on, and what names could possibly kick Tesla to the number 4 spot? Well, stay tuned, listeners. We'll all find out together. Number 4, Tesla, 1.06 million, so a decently active day. Not a banger for them. That's a little light for them, but usually enough to hold on to the number 2 spot, but not today, listeners. The hot option in Tesla today, 64,000 of the 335 calls. Stock going out right around 335, 335.16 to be precise. Now, need to kick into gear a little bit to make these pay off. Average price of about $6.26. They have till Friday to get there. Can we get there, listeners? We'll see. Tesla's kind of been all over the map of late. But let's dig in. Let's see what could kick Tesla to the curb to kick off our trading week here, listeners, on Monday. Number 3, it's our old pal Intel, proving that in 2025, these trips to Washington can be lucrative for the shareholders, at least. Intel was $20 almost exactly this time a week ago when just the rumors were in the offing that Intel was going to head down to DC and see what they could drum up down there. Turns out they were willing to sell a stake of their company to the administration, to the government, which is a wild thing. We haven't really seen that in the past. So interesting stuff. The stock rallying hard off the news, got all the way up to about 25.5 last week, coming back down off that today, selling off nearly $1 or about almost 4%, closing 23.66 out there in Intel. But again, a very active day out there in Intel options, 1.25 million contracts. And you might be forgiven for expecting puts to dominate the tape in Intel today as well, given the fact that it's selling off. But no, it was actually 65,000 of the 25 calls expiring this Friday. They had an average price of 43 cents. So can Intel turn it back around? Was that flirtation with the 25 strike? I mean, it got to 24.90 today. So was that flirtation just a bit of a red herring, and we're going to turn right back down to the 20 strike? Well, it looks like 65,000 contracts going up on that strike today, all opening paper, maybe saying yes. If past its prologue, folks are probably buying those. So interesting. Can we make it to 25.43 by Friday, listeners? We'll find out. But what other names can kick Tesla all the way down to the number 4 spot on an otherwise pretty quiet Monday? It's our old pal Open, roaring back to life, coming in at the number 2 spot today after falling all the way down, nearly falling out of the top 10 last week. 1.3 million contracts on the tape. Just a banger day for open, closing at 378. We were talking about 2.5 maybe being the ceiling for this stock not too long ago. Here we are, a little over 3 3/4 today, rallying 61 cents, nearly 20% out there. So open back in the plus column. What's driving it? A little bit of a shakeup at the top. Also, more buyers than sellers, kid. That's what they used to tell me when I first walked on the floor of the SIBO. At the end of the day, it's more buyers than sellers, listeners. Are you slinging a little open right now? Have you been overriding it maybe on the 2.5, 3, or 3.5 strike? Are you just buying the stock? Are you washing your hands of open? In fact, we do have a flash poll out there in open today as well, because the hot option in open today was the AUG 4 is expiring this Friday. They traded for an average price of about 35 cents. 147,000 times today. So just wild, the degree of optimism. This is all opening paper, and we all know open. People are buying these for the most part. Probably a little bit of overriding, but for the most part, folks are buying them. So can the stock get to 435 by Friday, listeners? That was another flash poll we asked our audience today. And right now, quite simply, would you rather buy these, you want to sell them, or are you just not touching open with a 10-foot pole? Right now, 56% of our audience wants to buy these bad boys. 40% say they're not touching open with the 10-foot pole, and 4% only want to sell them. I get that. It's a terrifying thing to step in front of the upside freight train that is open right now. So interesting stuff. Remember, if you want to play along in any of these polls or follow along with all of our shows, at Options on most major social media platforms, we'll get you to all of our content there. And then the number one spot, you know what it is. You can probably guess it by now if you've been listening to the show or any of our content for a little bit. It's Nvidia, closing a tick north of 182, putting up a little over 1 3/4 million contracts today. So a light day for Nvidia, all things considered, but enough to hold on to the crown yet again today. What was the hot option on a light day in Nvidia today? 163,000 of the August 185 calls, again, expiring this Friday. Average price of about $1.50. So they need Nvidia to get into gear to 165.5 if you were buying these. And this was all opening paper again today, listeners. So interesting stuff here in Nvidia. Interesting stuff throughout the entire hot options report today. That is going to do it for your Thor, aka the hot options report for Monday, August 18th. Hope you're having a great trading week. Don't forget to vote in all of our questions of the week and our polls over there at Options. And if you're just listening to this show, man, you're missing out. This is just the latest addition to a full network that has been running for over 18 years, over a dozen shows coming at you. So search for Options Insider or the Options Insider Radio Network if you want to get precise, to get access to all of the shows we're putting out there throughout the day. And of course, if you think you're ready for it, you want to go above and beyond, you want to join us for live streams, you want to join us for additional exclusive shows, including unusual activity and a whole bunch of other fun and, of course, great giveaways, theoptionsinsider.com/pro is the place to go to find out more. And we'll see you back here tomorrow after the closing bell, another episode of the Hot Options Report. Oh, yeah. And stay safe out there, everybody.
Check out public.com/optionsbrief and discover the most cost-effective way to trade options. Paid for by Public Investing. Full disclosures in podcast description.